Picture this. You step off a plane into a place where the streets are buzzing with sounds you cannot quite understand. People are dressed in unfamiliar styles, speaking languages that form a cacophony of words you do not recognize. The food, the customs, the very rhythm of life here differ from yours. You feel like an outsider. You are in a new land and a new culture that feels at odds with everything you know. This is where ethnocentrism comes into play. At its core, ethnocentrism is the belief that one's culture, values, and ways of doing things are both familiar and superior. It is like having a set of cultural glasses that shape how we perceive the world. These glasses are not tinted in a specific color but with the traditions, beliefs, and norms you have absorbed since childhood. But let us dig deeper into ethnocentrism and why it is so prevalent. Ethnocentrism is not always about blatant prejudice. Often, it arises from our natural tendency to trust what we know best. It is easier to consider our way of life as normal simply because it is what we have lived, breathed, and believed in since birth. It is the default setting of the human mind, to assume that the family is inherently better than the unfamiliar. Consider everyday situations that are shaped by ethnocentric thinking. When you watch a news story about a foreign country and think, why do they do that? That does not make sense. That is ethnocentrism. When you travel abroad and find yourself looking for the comforts of home, familiar foods, familiar routines, you are experiencing ethnocentrism on a personal level. You are trying to find a sense of grounding in a sea of difference. Yet, ethnocentrism also has larger implications. It is not just about personal discomfort. It can affect how societies interact. When entire nations operate from an ethnocentric perspective, they may impose values on others, believing them to be universally valid. This is why cultural imperialism often follows colonialism. Colonizers, convinced of their own cultural superiority, sought to civilize the cultures they encountered, not recognizing the inherent value of those diverse societies. But ethnocentrism is not limited to global relations or historical events. It exists in everyday encounters, like when a person laughs at another's accent, makes assumptions about another's traditions, or judges someone based on dress or dietary preferences. These are moments when ethnocentrism turns personal and can quickly become discriminatory. The truth is that ethnocentrism creates barriers. It hinders understanding, restricts empathy, and reinforces stereotypes. It encourages a simplistic us versus them mentality that overlooks the complexity and richness of human cultures. When we only view others through our cultural lens, we do not see them for who they are but rather as reflections of our biases and assumptions. Overcoming ethnocentrism requires a conscious effort. It begins with recognizing that our culture, just like any other, is a product of its unique history, geography, and environment. We must accept that no culture monopolizes rightness or truth. Each culture is shaped by its context, making sense to the people who live in it. By appreciating this fact, we open doors to genuine cross-cultural dialogue. Imagine you are having a communal meal in a foreign country. The dishes are strange, the flavors unfamiliar. In an ethnocentric mindset, you might dismiss the food as weird or unappealing. But if you push beyond that initial judgment and try to understand why those ingredients are chosen and why those spices are used, you might discover the beauty of a culinary tradition that has evolved over centuries. Ethnocentrism is not just a matter of prejudice but also about missed opportunities. It is about closing ourselves from the potential for growth, knowledge, and connection. Judging other cultures by our standards limits our capacity to learn and develop as individuals and as a society. In an increasingly globalized world, ethnocentrism can be especially damaging. Today, people from diverse cultures interact more than ever, whether online, in workplaces, or in communities. Ethnocentrism can lead to miscommunication, mistrust, and conflict. However, it can also be an opportunity for growth. By acknowledging our biases, we can create more inclusive environments in schools, workplaces, or social circles. The key is not to abandon our cultural identity but to become aware of it. We must learn to appreciate the value of other perspectives and recognize that what may seem strange may hold profound wisdom. Ethnocentrism can be replaced with cultural relativism, which is the idea that we evaluate other cultures by their standards rather than ours. This approach does not require us to agree with everything we encounter, but it encourages us to understand and respect the context in which diverse cultures have developed. Ultimately, Overcoming ethnocentrism is about cultivating humility, empathy, and curiosity. It is about seeing differences not as obstacles but as opportunities to broaden our understanding of human experience. It's about stepping into someone else's world, not to judge it, but to appreciate it, learn from it, and perhaps even allow it to enrich our own. This expanded narration dives deeper into the concept of ethnocentrism and its impact on personal, societal, and global levels.